Hello everyone! We will be having our 8th webinar today, and we will be focusing on building those foundational skills to prep your child for school and further development. If you have an early learner who is struggling at school, or if you have a child that you're preparing to send off to school soon, this is a great opportunity for you to start thinking about ways to support your child throughout summer since it's fastly approaching. We also have some attachments and additional webinars that will supplement today's topic really nicely, so please feel free to use them or share them as well. I will be bringing them up multiple times throughout our webinar today. This webinar is being presented by our Village program. We are a management consulting firm, and our team consists of professionals including speech pathologists, BCBA, occupational therapists, nurses, program specialists, and much more. And we're all for special education. We all work together to provide that tailored support that families need. So if you're interested in support with one-to-one consultations to school IEPs, please stay with us until the end of this webinar while I'll briefly introduce ourselves a little bit more. To introduce myself, my name is Stephanie Lee and I'm a BCBA. I've been working in the field primarily with children and teens with autism and ADHD under the practice of applied behavior analysis, or ABA. So today's contents will be sprouted from ABA. And before we start, I did want to clarify some information just to avoid any confusion. So learning readiness and school readiness may sound very similar, but in today's webinar, just for the sake of today's webinar, I will be distinguishing them and will talk about them in separate terms. So learning readiness focuses on the most basic and foundational skills that serve as prerequisites or those building blocks for very early learners, typically ages 1 through 4. School readiness are those physical, academic, social, and emotional skills that are required to be successful in school. So with this being said, let's go over our agenda. So today's agenda, we will be going over those learning readiness skills, school readiness skills, and lastly, tips to help strengthen both skills at home, just to kind of support your child to be ready for school. So let's begin with learning readiness skills. Again, these are very, very essential, basic, and foundational building blocks that serve as prerequisite skills. So we have sitting and attending for 60 seconds or more, eye contact with speaker or instructional materials, following simple instructions, imitation skills, and joint attention. And you might look at this and think, shouldn't these skills just develop naturally? Yes and no, because if the child's environment lacks sufficient resources or attention from caregivers to build these skills, or if the child has a diagnosis such as autism, there is a high chance that we may have to help build these skills. But good news is that the earlier we begin teaching these skills, the higher the chance of developing these skills from an early age. So that kind of goes into our next slide. Why are these skills so important? These skills serve as prerequisites. So the dictionary defines this term as something required beforehand or necessary as preparation for something else. It kind of lays out a groundwork for further learning and advancement. For example, we teach walking before running. And these prerequisite skills, they allow independence and may reduce challenging behaviors later on. So I want to share some more examples of prerequisite skills because this might be a new term for a lot of our parents. So for example, for calculus, prerequisites that are needed would be basic math, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, probably much more. We don't just step right into calculus. For example, self-feeding. Some prerequisites that might be required include independently using utensils, sitting throughout the duration of an entire meal, tolerating a variety of food items for self-feeding to occur. In order for a child to ride a bicycle very fluently, some prerequisites that are required might be walking, mastering hand-eye coordination to balance, pedaling, steering, and learning to brake. For toileting, some prerequisites required might be dressing and undressing, flushing the toilet, staying dry, locating appropriate toilets or bathrooms, washing hands, and remaining seated on the toilet. So these are just examples. Aside from those very basic prerequisite skills that we discussed, which are these skills, some other skills that could also serve as learning readiness skills include communication skills. So we want to work on requesting, right? Using, maybe even just 2 word phrases or maybe 1 word request. It could even be a complete sentence, such as "I want cookie." We want to also build those expressive identification skills, labeling nouns, verbs, attributes, and listener responding, following instructions. Imitation skills are also very, very important, whether it's vocal repetitions, whether it's just echoics, fine and gross motor imitations, object imitations, and observational learning. Essentially, when your child arrives in the classroom, observational learning is going to be a big part. Sitting and attending skills are also very important. We want to make sure that the child is able to sustain eye contact with the speaker or instructional materials. This was also discussed earlier. Scanning skills are very important. Matching skills with puzzles or identical matching. And sitting and attending to activities of various preferences for at least 1 to 2 minutes. So it could be a highly preferred activity, such as, watching the tablet, but also those non-preferred or less preferred, or maybe even just moderately preferred activities. We want the child to be able to sit and attend to any type of activity for a certain duration, just so that we can kind of prep the child up for some further development in advanced skills. Play skills are surprisingly very, very, very important. So we have functional play, variety of closed-ended play, such as a puzzle, or just those shape sorter toys, and open-ended play. That could be like coloring, building blocks, and so forth. Pretend play is also super important too, and we'll talk about play skills in a bit. And lastly, tolerance skills. So tolerating denied access, tolerating waiting, and sharing and turn taking, which is very, very important as we meet those peers in the preschool setting or kindergarten setting as well. So in conclusion, these are those learning readiness skills that could be added on to those basic learning readiness skills that we discussed. So now that we covered learning readiness skills, let's talk about those school readiness skills. So in my head, learning readiness and school readiness skills kind of align and cross paths in some ways, but essentially learning readiness is more of that foundational skill that help develop school readiness skills. So school readiness encompasses a child's physical, cognitive, social, and emotional development to kindergarten students. Head Start's framework describes school readiness with 5 different domains, and that includes approaches to learning, social and emotional development, language and literacy, cognition, perceptual, motor, and physical development. And this kind of cross paths again with those learning readiness skills that we discussed. So, what did teachers think about school readiness? So, preschool and kindergarten teachers encourage motor skills, sharing and turn taking, which was mentioned a couple of times so far, following rules and directions, paying attention, perspective taking, and basic communication skills. Just a gentle reminder though, it doesn't mean that the child should arrive to school fully developed with these skills, but in a way exposed and familiar with these skills so that at school they can further advance these skills and build onto those skills in that enriched school environment. So, in a research study by Gill and colleagues dated back to 2006, preschool and kindergarten teachers reported that they focused on teaching, academics, following directions, cooperating with others, and working independently. They also included specific skills that they taught, and we can see some of those skills right over here on the chart. Some of them are being able to be separate from parents. That's a very important skill. Reading words, hopping, skipping, moving to music, recognizing letters and numbers, recognizing feelings, and playing cooperatively with peers. Essentially, we see a variety of different skills from communication, academics, social skills, and much more. And these are all the school readiness skills that teachers believe a child should be familiar with as they arrive to school. So now that we know what kind of skills are important for your child to succeed in school, let's talk about how to prepare your child. We will be going over 5 big tips in the next few slides. The first one is to set a goal. We talked about all the necessary skills, so I'm sure you started thinking about which skills your child already mastered and which skills he or she might need further training in. And we want to observe your child to determine the strengths and those areas of needs too. Tracking those guidelines for developmental milestones, which I'll show you in the next slide, is also super important. That might kind of assist you in developing appropriate goals and tracking progress along the way as well. So like I said, CDC offers an app that will walk you through the skills that your baby or toddler or child should be developing. This picture is just an example. This one shows a baby at 6 months old. It says what most babies do by this age: social and emotional milestones, language and communication milestones, cognitive milestones, movement and physical development milestones. So these are all super important for a parent, especially if this is your first child. We also have Head Start, outlining similar information as well. Whichever you feel comfortable with, take advantage of it and use them, just so that you can kind of track those guidelines and see where your child fits. Tip number 2, establish a routine. Stay consistent with this routine, and we can always start by establishing a sleep and a mealtime schedule first and kind of design your agenda around them. If it's too overwhelming, start with just a simple morning routine that might include waking up, washing up, dressing, eating, and so on. You can even do a nighttime or an evening routine, or just a routine for weekends as well. Just start small. Enrich the routine with opportunities for learning and fun. We want to mimic a school schedule. Sometimes we immediately think school and now we're thinking, oh, we have to have our child sit down on the table and work. But no, remember, the first few years of school are packed with opportunities for playing, music, and creativity. So incorporate those fun activities in those routines. Lastly, we want to promote independence and we want to encourage opportunities for peer interactions. If this is your only child, maybe set up some play dates. Bring your child to outings in the community where he or she might meet other similar age peers as well. This is very important. Some additional tools that kind of assist with establishing a routine. I have created some contents. We have some different pamphlets that can guide you along the process of creating a routine. I actually have a webinar that is entirely devoted to set up a routine as well. So if you're curious, please check them out. Aside from those, we also have these visual schedules that work really nicely. A lot of the teachers use these at school, especially in the first few years, so why not start them at home? These are great for keeping track, showing what's expected, and guiding them towards independence. And you can purchase these on Amazon, or you can even download some free printables online and just create your own as well. So the next tip, tip number 3, is play. Teaching opportunities can be embedded in play. Encourage them to engage in all various types of play. I created this pamphlet too to outline the different types of play. So with these different types of play comes opportunities to build other skills. So play is super important. For example, we have cause and effect play and functional play that can enhance independent leisure skills and attending skills. Right? We also have pretend play that can enhance communication skills, creativity, and social skills. Cooperative play is also a great opportunity to enhance peer interaction skills, sharing, turn taking, and conflict resolution skills. So within these play activities, they're absorbing a lot of the skills that they should be developing. And tip number 4, be a good role model. Children learn by observing and imitating others. If you have more than one child, you probably notice them picking up things from each other and imitating one another. They're like a sponge and they absorb everything. So demonstrate complex steps and practice tasks together, demonstrate good habits. And some of these could be hand washing, dressing, using utensils, and much more. And we can even model language and vocabulary so that they can build those communication skills too. Set expectations for positive behavior and demonstrate problem solving skills. You can even think out loud to walk them through your thoughts. It could feel a little bit silly, but doing so can kind of help your child learn the thought processes and how to solve different problems as well. You can also use social stories, videos, and storybooks to build social skills and teach these skills as well. I remember I used a lot of videos and social stories to teach, ways to maintain conversations, maintaining personal space, sharing and turn taking, keeping your hands to yourself. These are all super important, but social stories and these videos do a lot of those teaching. So take advantage of those. And lastly, tip number 5, seek professional assistance. Involve professionals to tailor strategies for your child's needs. So you know your child best, and usually your child's pediatrician might also be a great person to refer you to different services such as occupational therapy, speech therapy, ABA, or more if they are needed for your child. I highly encourage you to participate in training sessions or even just webinars like this or workshops to learn effective teaching techniques and strategies to build your skills as a teacher for your child. And if you are ever unsure, consult a medical professional first and just to ensure that your child is meeting those developmental milestones. And remember, the earlier you begin any of these services or reach out for any of these professional assistance, the higher chance they will catch up. So earlier is always better. And speaking of professional assistance, our Village program offers great benefits as well. So we have expert guidance with IEPs. We also provide a comprehensive IEP checklist, a lot of consultations about those IEP. We provide those templates as well and different strategies to kind of plan for your IEP meetings. We have our very own private community where you can share and discuss your concerns. We have an entire resource library, all for parents and children as well. So some of these webinars and the contents that I create are pulled out from those resource libraries. And lastly, and most importantly, we have on-demand support from educational specialists for our families nationwide. So you can always schedule any of these services, one-to-one consultations with parents or these telehealth services so that you can get the support that you need. I also want to share that webinars like these are posted on our website. So the past few topics were Think Like a BCBA, A Parent's Guide to Toilet Training, 5 Steps to Good Night's Sleep, and teaching some social skills. So feel free to check them out and use them to your advantage as well. About that resource library that I discussed, some of the free parent resources that we offer include these contents, but we also have an entire library that we have categorized into 3 different sections. So we have parent resources where we offer a variety of different strategies for a variety of different skills or concerns. We also have some step-by-step procedures to teach behavior management and skill acquisition procedures. For this one, for example, on this slide, we have teaching turn taking, teaching social cues, teaching basic emotions, so that you as a caregiver or a parent can use this as a teacher or a lesson plan to teach your children. We also have printable activities for your child, so super easy. You download and print and you give it to your children. And these come from all different topics and they're suitable for all different ages as well. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, we'd love to hear back. Our email address is simplesped@xcomweb.com. Our phone number is 844-387-5836. We are available Monday through Friday, 8 through 5:30 p.m. Please feel free to check out our website at villaged.org. That's VillageED.org. If you would like to reach out to me separately, I have my information on there, so you can go ahead and reach out for any questions and concerns. And that concludes our webinar today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you have any further questions or comments for us, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.